Okay, hello and welcome. So today I'm doing some Unreal game development, and I decided to do this stream because this is a part of game development or even just software development that most people who aren't programmers don't know about and don't think about. And it is basically all the not programming stuff that I'm going to do. So I am hopefully going to do some programming, but we'll see. Basically what the scenario is. Um, Actually, the scenario is that I need to test my audio. So let's double check that first. And then we'll get into the actual scenario of what I'm going to do today, or at least what I'm going to try and do today. Oh my goodness. All right, one moment. So today, so what, excuse me. I'm using a new mic or a different mic. So, hey, Robert. Oh, audio is great. Oh, fantastic. Um, that's good to hear. Thank you. Um, I'm using a new mic or a awesome. Okay, yeah. So one of the problems that I'm dealing with is I use a standalone mic because it's supposed to be better than the mics in your headphones. And for the longest time, like when I started streaming, I used to use just headphones that had a mic integrated. Like all headphones these days seem to have a mic integrated. I used it. I didn't think anything about it. And honestly, my audio quality was really good, better than I realized. And then over time, as computers changes and I have to get new headphones and all that, um, that stopped working. So I ended up buying a cheap microphone, a standalone microphone, because like everything like Discord and OBS and all that shit was like, oh, you can't use a device that's both a headphone and a microphone all in one. We just can't figure that out, which is bullshit, but that's what it kept saying. So I got a dedicated mic. It was about $50. As far as dedicated mics go, that's dirt cheap. And uh and my audio has never been as good. That's when it was. Anyway, today um I gave it a shot. I don't know, since the last time I tried it, I figured I'm a lot more comfortable with OBS. Maybe I can get it to work. And lo and behold, it works. So I'm using the mic from my headphones. It's not the highest like quality, but I think actually the sound canceling in my headphones might actually be better than all the processing I have to add to the dedicated mic that I used in the past. So hopefully it doesn't sound like I'm constantly like my audio is peaking. So anyway, for what that's worth. The practical upshot is that I don't have a mic in front of me, which means it's easier to work on the keyboard, which is part of the reason, a big part of the reason why I did this. And a consequence of that decision to use the headphone mic is that I don't have a mute button. So I apologize for coughing earlier. All right. So what I'm going to do today is I'm basically solving a problem on a game project that I'm a part of. And this is common in game development and even software engineering, where like it's not all just hacking code and adding features and I changed the size of the button on the website to increase our daily revenue or click through count by 15% or whatever bullshit they want to put on your resumes. A lot of times it's like, hey, we need to migrate all the existing stuff to a new project. Why? I don't know, but someone decided it needed to be done for whatever reason. And in today's case, that's exactly what's going on. Is there's a game project. Okay, here is the current project. This is what everything needs to be migrated to. And now I have two copies. All right, so first I need to figure out which of these two projects, the stuff I need to move, is sitting in. 8525, 39, 229, 26. All right, so probably this one. So we'll fire it up. and see if it's there. So this is no, not housekeeping. um, so I built a procedural dungeon, and I need to migrate it to the new project. So yeah, here it is. I kept it all in one folder to keep it nice and isolated and protected, and that mostly worked. Um, mostly. All right, here we are. If I hit selected viewport, we'll do, forget which one it is. We do this. Oh, fuck me. Okay. And now we have problems. Okay, so what is the problem? Oh, that's level. Dungeon generation engine. All right. So part of the what's going on is there's multiple projects because changes were being made that were breaking things. And so um, one of the solutions was, well, we'll just make a brand new project to start all over and just move everything into it, which sounds good, but it's not a good solution. What has happened now is everything is breaking. The things in the original project that are broken are still broken, which means now migrating things is troublesome. And when you migrate things, if they are interdependent on other things, which at a certain point things become interdependent, it's just unavoidable. It's how systems work. Um, then they break. Sorry, I'm trying to wrap my head around all this. So it looks like okay, this might be just nav mesh. Why is that? Set actor location. Okay, this might be old. And this is part of the reason why constantly creating new projects for the same project is a bad idea, because then you lose track of which one's current and which one you should be using. It's the whole purpose of things like GitHub, your source code repositories, and your version control and all that. Um, all right, let's open the other one. So we'll do this over here. This is Kingdom of Wrath over here. This is actually from the GitHub. Okay. All right. Cool. There's another project that I'm on where this is kind of, it's in the same vein, but it's a little unrelated, and that is they're talking about upgrading the version of the engine, the Unreal Engine, because Unreal's had updates. And as a general rule, that is a bad idea. Um, whether it's Unity or Unreal, you want to avoid upgrading, updating your engine mid project because things can break. Let's go here. Right. Okay. So this is the correct one, I believe. So here we see the dungeon's been created, and the nav mesh was one of the last things that I got working on here. Good. We got a boss room in here. All of this is procedural. Yep, we got our enemies spawning. Okay, this is the one that matters. So this one is garbage. This is the correct one. Okay. So here we have, let's see. This one? No, not this one. Damn it. There we go. One of these buttons will pop out a small window. Thought it was. It's not this one, is it? No, this just simulates it. Down. Select the viewport. Maybe it is this one. New editor. It's just gigantic for some reason. Okay. I don't know how to. I don't know how to change. The top, it's off the screen. I can't get it. All right. Well, whatever. All right. So here we go. We got some fire with some dynamic. Oh, it looks like. Oh, they didn't used to do that. Cool. I guess they've been fixed. So they used to just stand still, and now they chase you. All right. That's great. Oh, all right. Fantastic. So it looks like the light used to flicker on the wall, and that is not happening anymore. I'm not sure why, but at any rate, okay. So we have our character. The level clearly generates. We've got our procedural torch mounts in various states of disrepair. Procedural rubble. These enemies are all placed procedurally. That's the first thing that started breaking when they started creating new projects to move things. And so what I'm going to try to do today is move this functioning feature or asset from this project into the new project. Some procedurally placed money. Cool. They're trying to get me. Let's see how we doing here. This one. Awesome. Oh man, you died. All right, cool. That is fantastic, and it's nice to see that the enemies are finally updated. Um, all right, all right, cool. So what I want to do now is I need to migrate this thing. Let's look at the engine. I want to have a look at the area that was broken in the other one. Absolutely nothing. It's the same. I guess that's not what was broken. Okay. Okay. Well, it's not broken. Cool. So this is the entire dungeon. Do some initialization. Um, Counting stuff so we can do our randomization. It uses a weighted randomization system. And then looks like we're updating the randomization seed, and it uses a seed system on everything that's randomized so that for a multiplayer world or for even just reloading a saved world, we can recreate the exact, like all the randomization is deterministic based on the seed. So if the seed changes, you get new results, but the seed stays the same, you get the same results. Just one of the tricks you want to use when implementing random systems. All right, so we update all our seeds and then generate our rooms, update the nav mesh. Here, the first room is a special case. We need to add that to the first room to the list of dungeon rooms so that we can then generate doorways between adjacent rooms. Then we do the wall decor, which is the torches, rubble on the floor, treasure on the floor, and then the random statues. And right now it consists of a peep, a little marshmallow duck, and some columns. All right, so we do all that. And then last, come through here, and we place enemies around the dungeon. Now, everything uses a weighted. That's not what I meant to do. Crap. View, window. Where is? I haven't opened Unreal in a while, so I wish to see the graph. This, there it is. All right, cool. All right, so there's the graph. Come over here, so it'll place enemies in all the rooms. Now, the way the generator works. So by default, we have a set of seed of 0, which means to randomize the seed. Once it's been randomized and it's not 0, it won't change again. So the rooms you can for the actual tool, you can set the min and max number of rooms to create. This is a unique tag that goes on the asset that represents the starting room. There are certain rooms that are tagged as special rooms. These might be like unique bespoke rooms that have like maybe a lake or a cave or something in them, or like a boss room or whatever. And then a probability of generating those special rooms. This is a probability. There are like every fourth room that is generated, there's a probability of generating a special room. So, and I think that's something like that. It's either fourth or every third room, something like that. So that's what this number is. And then we have the list of all the different room blueprints. Now, a hallway is the same as a room. It's a piece of the dungeon. So you can add more in here. Every time you create one, like a new room or new hallway, you add it to this list, and it becomes a new thing that can be generated. So it's very extensible. Same with all the enemies. There are 3 types of enemy lists. You got your grunts, your leaders, and then your bosses. And each room has the same list as well. So those will override. So if you want to have a dungeon full of, say, skeletons, but a specific room full of goblins, you can do that. Okay. Then we got the wall decor. We got the control, which determines how many potential locations on the wall will have something. And then you've got the list of things that can appear. Same with the floor decor. That's the statues. And then, let's see, I think that is it. All this other stuff is just default crap. Yeah. Okay. All right, now everything is in this folder. Where is it? This one. Yeah. This one. Okay, PCG dungeon. The only problem is there are enemies not in this folder because they already existed in the game. So I linked them together. The dungeon references the base enemy classes for the purpose of spawning things, and then the actual asset that's been placed over here has references to the specific enemies in the game. So basically, when the enemies are spawned, these lists determine which specific enemies are spawned, but then the actual code in the generator just upcast them to their parent and just treats them all the same. So it doesn't, because all it needs to do is place them. So position and rotation, that's all that matters. So whether or not it's a skeleton with a sword or a goblin or a dragon or whatever, it doesn't matter. So, um, but those enemies are not within that folder because they're game enemies. That's where the problem, that's where the breakdown happens. So this is where we're coming from. GitHub, Kingdom of Wrath, and where we need to go to is this one. And this is game development. This is a part of the process that I don't want to say people don't talk about because it's not like it's hidden. It's just, it's like if you talk to people about driving, people who like to drive, they don't talk about putting air in the tires, right? Like it's not that it's hidden. It's just not a thing you talk about. It's part of it. It's a chore. Anyway, this is a part of game development that doesn't really, people don't really talk about. It's figuring out how to move things around, migrating between projects, etc. So I believe, yeah, we have a migrate tool. So I'm going to turn off everything. And I'm going to go find the particular asset that I built, which is somewhere, it's here. So everything down here I created. It's the dungeon, all the blueprints, the white boxes for the rooms and everything. And my concern is that I am almost certain I need to include the enemies. Specifically this one. This is the base class. And this has also changed in the new project. It's no longer this class, which means after I migrate this, it's not going to work. I'm going to have to update it to use the new class. Logic-wise, nothing needs to change, but the actual references in the wire diagrams do. And for some cases, when you do that in Unreal, even though all the types match up and everything, you still need to recreate different nodes, which is a mean. So we'll see. I'm going to include this. I'm not going to include any of the other stuff. And what that should mean is that this asset should still work. Because I'm not, when I migrate the level, actually, if I could migrate the level, that would be perfect. But I'm going to have to rebuild the actual level or create a new level. Wait a minute, it was in here, wasn't it? Doorways, engine, marker materials, master. There it is, the level. The level is in here. Okay. All my prototype materials. Okay, cool. We migrated to another content folder. Now I've got my fingers crossed. This just copies it to the destination. It doesn't move it. I fucking hope. Choose the destination content folder. All right, so here we're going to, oops. Yeah, see, there's been multiple attempts to change the organization of the folders. So this is not this. It's not the right path. But we've got, yeah, okay. Not confusing at all. So here's GitHub. This is where we want it. This is the new project. part of the reason I've been reluctant to do this so far is that this is a new project. It's not the main project, which means I may have to do this again. It's not a separate branch, it's a separate project, which is problematic. All right, content here. So here's some other PCG content. It's not my stuff. Oops. Let's do that. All right. Please don't move it. Okay, great. Thank God. All right, so we can exit. Oh, fuck. What is this? I didn't change any of this. Take content. I didn't change any of that. Don't say it. Okay. This is where it went. So now, PG Dungeon. Good. All right, so let's try opening this. Oh, I've tried this once before. It did not work well. That's all. All right, dungeon content. Why was it already in here? That's interesting. All right, can we open this? All right, that's a good sign. Seeing all this here is a good sign. Okay. Click you. Don't need that. Seeds are still 0. The settings are still the same. I mean, this is all what should happen, but I've had mixed degrees of success. So I was super doubtful. Okay, all my data has been created correctly. That's awesome. The enemy control information, basically how many enemies and the probability per rune and all that. The individual enemy data is, haha, okay. That's okay. So I did lose that, but that's okay. Everything else in here is fine. This is all data that would be created. When you say new enemy, you get one entry here. So it's not referencing. I did lose the reference to the specific enemy to spawn. That is okay. The bigger concern is over here. Is whether or not the code still works. Okay, so if I run this, what I expect is the dungeon will work, but it won't have any enemies in it. Interesting. Okay. That's not me. All right. So something to keep in mind when you're working on a project is if you're using source code repository, never commit code that doesn't work. The project should always work. If something doesn't work, don't add it to the repository, because it will block anyone else from working on the project. For example, this blueprint NPC, I don't know what this is. It's not, it didn't, my asset did not bring that. All right, this is the asset that my tool brought over here. I'm not going to fix it. I just need to know it's there. Okay. Blueprint NPC. I don't even know what is. Oh my God. It's possible this is a parent asset to the enemy. I didn't think it was, but it might be. Um, oh, that's mine. Yeah. Randomized dialogue. This, you see dialogue. So if the NPC is the parent of the enemy, this may have been part of the NPC. Okay. So I need to go check. So go back from here, exit. Again, this is a side of development. I'm not programming. I'm just figuring out what's broken and fixing it. Ultimately, just because I just need to move an asset from one place to another. Okay. Um, right. Here and here. Wait, nope. Nope, nope, nope. It was this one. All right, so we're going to open that. So there's a lot of good habits that organizations and teams will adopt to prevent problems. And some of those habits, and you can even do this as an individual, is like I said before, don't don't put code in your repository that doesn't run, doesn't execute. If it doesn't do what it's supposed to, that's one thing. But if it doesn't work at all, if you can't push play, then it should not be in the repository. Um, if you're developing just like on your own computer, you're not using version control or anything like that, the equivalent would be don't stop working unless your game works, unless it runs, you know? So like when I was developing on solo on my computer, what I would do is like at the end of any given or at the beginning of any given session, I would go copy the entire game folder and just make a backup of it, right? And the idea is that that backup is basically if whatever I do today doesn't work, I can delete it all and just reload that or restore that backup. You know, just unzip that backup file because I know that works. And so you have a safety net, right? So if you and then the idea is whatever your development you're going to do during the day, make sure it always runs. That doesn't mean it has to run all the time while you're working on it, but if you break it, either get it so that it's running. You don't have to fix the behavior, but you need to get it so that the game runs, so that it executes um, before you quit for the day. So it should always work. That would be like the local version of the repository of never uploading code that doesn't work in the repository. And it's for the same reason, like except the other people, it's just you in the future. So the next time you look at the code, it at least works because one of the hardest things you can do as a developer is to create a break your code. I won't say create a bug, but break your code one day and then try and unbreak it on a different day. You know, if you break it, you want to try and fix it immediately, or at least, like I said, at least get it working. You don't have to fix the problem. You have to get it executing. It's so important because a major factor in figuring out what's broken, like what isn't working correctly, like a behavior doesn't work. If you hit spacebar and the character doesn't jump, that's one thing, and you can troubleshoot that. But if you can't run the game at all, you now have a separate problem, and that can be a more difficult problem to solve because you have no idea what in the game keeps it from running. So you always want your game to run. So I used to go so far as if I was going to go to lunch, the game better be running. The game better be able to run. If I need to get up and go to the bathroom, the game needs to run. So anyway, I cannot stress that enough. Right. So I wanted to check. Don't care about that. Go back here. I need to check the parent of the enemies. So this is my dungeon. Go back up here. The enemies are here. And they are not here. They used to be. Um, I can't search because I don't remember exactly what they're called. Let me. Oh, wait a minute. Nope. All right, let me try. So this brings us to the next big tip is make sure everything is spelled correctly. So here we have a skeleton. It's not how you spell skeleton. I understand spelling errors can happen. I know that not everyone spells perfectly. These are all completely fine. However, you need to make sure all your descriptors, your terminology is spelled correctly. Because if I said skeleton because I'm looking for a skeleton, and what I needed was this, I'll never find it. Or this one, I'll never find it. And I've seen this in larger projects. This isn't a dig at anybody. I've seen this in multiple places. I've seen it. I looked on Kerbal Space Program, and I saw it there. Not a lot, but like I said, I've seen it. And then I've seen it in. I worked on a. I wasn't a developer, but there was a project in the defense industry. It was a simulation, battlefield simulation type piece of software, and I had access to the source code because I was working with the developers. And because the software was in development, a lot of times we would get like NREs, no reference exceptions. And so I could help the developers by saying, hey, we set this tank to go over here, and then it threw an NRE and crashed. I could look at the stack trace, go through the code, and find it and say, like, oh, here's where it had a null reference, and I could send that information to the developers, and that would help them to figure out why. And I saw in that code there were spelling errors. It happens. And the problem is that you can't always just rename things. Especially in Unreal. You can do it in Unity. It's pretty easy. You just rename it and it updates everything. Oh, that's not the right word. Anyway, but in Unreal, it's different. It's not as easy. If you change the names of things, you can break references. That I don't know how easy that is to avoid, but it has happened to me. So I don't know if that might be user error, lack of experience, but it can happen. I find like in Unity, if you have a thing and you're like, oh, I don't want this is spelled wrong. I just go here, I go rename, and then boom, it updates all the references. But in Unreal, I'm not confident it does that. All right, so back to here. Skeleton. All right. Skeleton. There it is. Animation blueprint. So this was the base, I believe. So he comes from target skeleton. Albert, no, maybe he's not the base. Block. Let's open. Is this the right one? Yes. All right, cool. Oh, it is under third person. Okay, yeah. So there's been some reorganization as well as they moved projects, which is another problem. I often emphasize don't change change only one thing at a time. So if you need to migrate everything from one project to another project, don't try and reorganize at the same time. Migrate it, then reorganize, or reorganize and then migrate it. And the middle step is make sure it runs. So you want to reorganize, just make sure it runs. Migrate it, make sure it runs, or whatever. But at every step, you want to make sure it runs. Because the worst thing you can do is migrate it and then move everything around and then hit play and it doesn't work and you have no idea why. So, okay, so this does not seem to have parent. Oh, this is animation blueprint. Oh no, I'm looking at that skeleton year. Okay, so this guy, the mage, his parent class is the BP base enemy. His parent class is BP base enemy, and he doesn't have a parent class. Oh, he does. There's BP base enemy. Okay, that's what I'm looking for. Can I navigate to that? Of course not. All right, well, that's fine. We can look for it. We know it's called BP underscore. Oh, look at all the animals. Base enemy. Here he is. All right, you. Show in folder. Here. Also under enemies. Okay, oh, the skeletons run to here. Skeleton. All right. Okay, you. So this does not appear to inherit from the NPC. Blueprint, blueprint, and ABP. Oh, I'll bet when I migrated it, maybe I grabbed the enemies folder. Okay, so we can check that. This is definitely the most glorious side of game development. We get a content. I think it will when it migrates stuff, it follows the same path. So we have content, third person, enemies. It does, I think. Tamagotchi. No. Skeleton. North. Base enemy. Hmm. Okay. All right. All right. So now I realize that something I've done here is I migrated everything. I don't know what the folder structure looked like before I did that. So I can't say, oh, well, let me just go delete the stuff that doesn't need to be there because I don't know what needs to be there or not. So to address that, show and explore. This is the old one. Okay, so I'm gonna file environment. So I'm gonna go to GitHub and I'm gonna roll back my local repository that's pointing at the new project. Okay, so that's here. And I think can I just discard? Yep. I hope that works. Unreal seems to be really picky about you messing with the files outside of Unreal. So hopefully that doesn't cause any problems. So over here we've got oh this one. This one. No button here. Show and explore. Perfect. All right. So we'll go to content. We have interesting. So this is probably from my earlier attempt to migrate this. Third person enemies. So if that's true, then I still don't know what needs to be here or not. Okay, now our source code repository is not. So I'm curious because I deleted all that stuff. I don't think I know I attempted to migrate the stuff once before. I am pretty confident I never merged it because it didn't work. Um, but then it should have shown all the stuff should have shown up as changes, and it didn't. Hmm. That branch, other branches. So we have two branches. GitHub Kingdom of Wrath. So that's the old repository. This is the new one. Okay, this didn't yield anything useful. I still don't know what's required or not. So my next line of thinking is maintenance, show and explorer. This one is okay. That's the old one. So my next line of thinking is maybe I can see all the references for this. Show reference. There we go. Reference viewer. This is used by BP NPC. All right. AS run forward. Oh, animation sequence. Okay. And the SK mannequin, which I think is a default thing that comes with this. Oh no, that's a skeleton. Oh, okay. Skeleton mannequin. Oh no, that's a animation skeleton, not a skeleton monster. Okay. So these three, I believe, are legit. These would have been created as part of the project. Let's go look at BP NPC and see what that references. Oh my goodness. All right. Hmm. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Oh, VP NPC, animation blueprint NPC. Hmm. Okay. Here's something else we can try. Let's say, whoa, not what I thought I was doing. Right here, Kingdom of Wrath. All right, so we're going to open this. So my branch is up to date. My local branch is synced up with the repository. So something else I can try is to just delete it from here and see if the game still works. So for one, I need to delete this old stuff, right? This is Show and Explorer. Oh, no, I'm not in the project I thought I was. Okay, glad I checked. What was that? Yep. All right, Kingdom of Wrath. No, wait a minute. Wait a minute. This is the frustrating thing. I've confused myself. I've forgotten where this comes from. This is the old project. This is the one that works. And I'm trying to be very careful because I don't want to delete the one that works, obviously. All right, get rid of that. Content, dungeon, level. All right, play. Awesome. 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 All right, yep. We got swish. Yep. Hey, there's audio. Cool. And bam, bam, bam. Sweet. All right. All right, I'm an adventuring badass. All right, cool. So, oh, here he comes. Great. So this is the one that works. All right. So this is the one that needs to be deleted from. So we're going to close this. I'm going to open this. I'm going to open this. And we're going to delete it. Okay. Um, all right. That's the one that works. It's now no longer has it. Good. All right. We're going to relaunch it and see if it runs. So I don't know where the levels are. Still don't know what the levels are. There. Oh, maps. Okay. Okay. This, I believe, was the test. Yeah. So if I hit play, ah, so we have that dialogue and the blueprint NPC. Let's go delete all those. Kill that. Can I AC underscore player dialogue? Actually, let's do the other one, BP NPC. ABP NPC. All right. Delete those. Um, no, let's get everything out of memory and then BP and DC here. Wait, 5 references, 50 references. Oh, I see. Okay. Let's delete it. Delete it. Okay. Say, oh wait. We're gonna update redirector references, delete unreferenced redirectors, and poise break. Knight of Leafdom. Okay, here I'm pretty sure I'm doing more damage than I mean to be, but it's investigatory and I have the repository. I can resync and pull down everything that I've removed. So I'm not worried about it. So I'm gonna restart it. Yeah, sure. And then here, okay, if I just hit play, oh man, what's going on here? Oh, that's wild. Okay. It does play though. Interesting. Okay. Hmm. All right, let's go to a map. Let's go to this one. Right. Interesting. Cancel. What about this map? We go play. BPI, BFL. Hmm. Okay. All right. Well, I'm gonna roll back my changes then. Go to here. We'll exit. Pull up the kitty cat. All of this. Discard. Go back to here. All right. This is the project where I want to put content. So we're gonna restart that. Interesting. It's not here. Oh, I probably need to, yeah, need to update. Probably. Fetch. Okay. Here. Oops, oops, oops. Okay. Hmm. Okay. I was given a warning just today that may be relevant. And that was, let's get this restarted. Okay. I was told, hey, when you rebuild your level, don't use a third person default starter level or whatever. And I suspect that's what this is. And that's probably what this was. So whatever the problem is, these two aren't working. The question then becomes, what can I run? Well, I know it runs because if I just hit run, I get a little person. I think he's falling. I think that's the falling animation. So, all right. So we do BP NPC. here. They are still here. Let's look at the enemies. Oh, that's interesting. I wouldn't expect enemy to pull. Oh, it's under enemies. Oh, okay, okay. Skeleton. Target. Oh, I want an actual blueprint, not an animation. Where are we? Where are we? Come on, there's a blueprint. Extremely new skeleton. So we have an extremely new skeleton. Show explorer. That's not what I want. Overview. There we go. Okay. So an extremely new skeleton and a new base enemy. Parent class, new base enemy. Okay, that's this guy. All right. So when I import the dungeon, I need to update the references for the enemy base or the blueprint base enemy needs to be updated to this guy. Okay, and the good news is actually let's go over here. Where is the refresh button? Okay, so I just deleted the PCG folder, PCG level, PCG dungeon folder and all its content. Then I updated. Update did not restore, which means the folder I deleted was not in the repository, which means it should have appeared over here, but it didn't. John, Collins, the warden. I don't see. Okay, so there's nothing from me. So why weren't my changes over here if they were not part of the repository? They should have been. All right. Well, okay, that's the destination. We don't have it. This is the source. We do have it. All right, we're gonna try and migrate again then. So go ahead and exit. Okay, no problem. Didn't have a complaint about saving anything. So this is an hour in. I haven't written any code. That's literally file forensics and figuring out what the fuck is wrong. And this is 100% part of game development, and it sucks. Okay. Here's my stuff. Take off floor, wall, doorways, markers, prototypes. That's all my stuff. Okay. Let's try this again. Let me come up here. Dungeon. I want to migrate. Let me deselect everything. Dialogue, Kingdom, multiplayer, MW, dungeon. All right, so what do we have here? We've got decor for the floor, which is rubble and statues and treasure. Okay, all of that. Decor for the wall, a bunch of torches, torch fire, all that. The doorways, all the closed doorways, doorway master, all the open doorways. Okay. The dungeon generation engine, that's the core, that's like the base class. All the marker materials, these are what are visible in the editor to let you know this is a potential spawn point for a wall torch or treasure, whatever. So all of that. the master room, PCG dungeon level. This is my where it sits. It's got some lighting in there. It's all programmer art, but it works. And the dungeon itself will load as a separate level from the rest of the game, so it can stand in isolation. So that's fine. And I created that. I don't think I created that from new, but there's nothing in it except lighting. Excuse me, lighting, and then the dungeon. All right, prototype materials. We do want all of that. These are for all the white boxes. The meshes, right? I made a few static meshes for the walls and stuff. Shapes, likewise. And textures, likewise. All right, the rooms, we have boss room data, some dungeon entrances. So it's all the mandatory rooms. I want everything in there. Rooms normal, different types of rooms. Yeah. Special rooms. So we've got a cavern with stairs and all the different parts of that. A lake bridge, parts of that. A chasm. So all the stuff under room special. And then the weighted spawn blueprint, which is the piece of data that wraps a blueprint so that we can assign probability weights to it for the purposes of spawning. And that wraps both, that's used to spawn both the enemies, the rooms of the dungeon, the corridors, all the things in the dungeon. Like, it wraps everything. Okay. It's the entire dungeon. There's nothing, nothing deeper than that. I don't need quests. I don't need rewards. I didn't use any of that stuff. Temporary animations, third person UI. All right. I have to go find the blueprint NPC to make sure I'm not pulling it with me. But the way this looks, I don't think I am. I just search over here, isn't it? No. Okay. So animations, data, game, blueprints. Okay. No. Data, enemies. There he is. I don't have him. Okay. And that guy. So these two right here. I didn't pull them across. This, actually, I probably should pull this across. That way it runs after I migrate it. The concern is what dependencies this has, if any. So I'm not going to pull any of the actual enemies. Those will get wiped from the dungeon data, and that's okay. I've already seen that happen, and I know that's fine. Miscellaneous spells. Okay, so that's everything. Whoops. All right, so I will include the BP-based enemy. I have some mixed feelings about this because I'm pretty sure this is going to pull in skeleton. So the choices here are, do I include this so that it runs and then go through in the new project, change the references, which all run and will be easy to find, to the blueprint really new enemy or what it was called. And then whatever garbage this brought with it, I guess if I do like view references, I can find that. But that's kind of a spider web because then I have to check the references to see if anything else references them. That's a mess. Alternately, I don't include this at all. That way I know I'm not bringing any extra junk. But it means when I migrate the dungeon, it's not going to work as soon as it gets there. And I'll have to go through code to find where this is used and update it. I kind of feel like that's the better approach. And the trade-off is it won't run as soon as it gets over there. So if there's any problem in the migration process, I won't know until I fix this reference and then try it. But I think this is the better approach. The approach that carries the least risk is what I think it is. All right, so here, this is the new, this is where I want to put it. So we will select content. Oops. Go away. All right. This is the source. This is the destination. I don't see it. There it is. Okay, there's all my stuff. And there's all my stuff. Okay, so it migrated. We can exit. That is one of mine, but I didn't do anything to it. Don't say. This is the new repository with all the things I've added. So I'm not sure what this stuff is. External actors. I don't know what that means. I don't know if this is like external references or if they're redirectors or what. These are all the assets. Assets, fire, doors. There's the dungeon engine itself. The materials I've made, the master room, the level that everything sits in, prototype materials, all my rooms, special rooms, and in my weighted spawn blueprint data. Okay, so that's a good sign. So now, okay, so now we're going to launch it again. We're going to launch the new one. This would be, it was documents, GitHub. That's the new one. Here it is. I'm going to launch it. All right. This is other PCG content, not mine. Here it is. Come over here. Here's my level. That's a great sign. Okay, and I saw this before. None. Okay. And I saw that before. Okay, that's good. Let's open the. Okay, I don't expect this to work. So if I hit run, there we go. Let's do that. Click to edit the blueprint. I have clicked. All right, great. Kill that. Go to here. So I mistakenly thought before that this was an error, but it looks like this was something I was working on and stopped at. That's a bad habit as well. This is horrible documentation, but I do vaguely recall what I might have been trying to do there. Get all actors in class, execute console command, rebuild navigation. Okay. So we get all the actors. Set actor location. Oh, right. This doesn't go anywhere because it's part of the sequence. Right. So then execute the command. All right. So this was building. This is what reshapes the nav mesh to envelop the procedurally generated dungeon, because you can't set up the map. You can't set up the mesh to envelop everything that's been generated before it's been generated, and you can't predict where the generation will go because of the way the dungeon design, it could snake off in one direction and lead the, like if you attempted to say, oh, it'll be the nav mesh will be everything in this area, the dungeon could easily leave that area. So what this does is this iterates all of these spawned rooms and everything, finds their extents, and then regenerates the nav mesh. So that's what's going on here. This is actually not connected there. I don't remember what this is for. but I'm not going to mess with it now. So we'll go here. We're going to come back, and the message was about the enemies. So that'll be where they are spawned. Enemy seed. So I believe they are here. Yeah. So generate dungeon enemies. Let's open that. I don't see any red. Generate enemies. So the first thing we do, all right, so we calculate which rooms, we calculate how many rooms are to receive enemies. Then we shuffle the room list. So the dungeon maintains a list of references to all the rooms. So it just shuffles them so we can pick, like if we need 20%, take 20% of the list size. Those rooms will have an enemy. Spawn, runs, oh yeah. So here we have a little violation of dry, which I hate, but I couldn't find a less convoluted way to do this. So you'll notice this and this is the same, this and this are the same, this, and this, and this, and this, and these guys, and these guys. It's very similar. All right, so iterate each room. If the room has enemy spawn points, we'll continue. If not, we abort that room. Determine the type of spawn. It's either a singular enemy or a group of enemies. It's a group. It's an individual. This is the selected room that we're working with. And then this is kind of like the randomizer for picking enemies. Spawn. Oh, so these are the functions right in here. I doubt this calls that. Probably should. Yeah, doesn't. All right, let's go back to here. We'll do this one first. Should be simpler. Yeah, it is. That's concerning. Random stream. Store the functions arguments. All right. There's your return node. Spawn enemy at spawn point. Selected spawn point. Max offset random stream. Weighted blueprint. Oh, here it is. So we're going to here. There it is. Boom. Spawn actor. Break weighted spawn blueprint. So this gets the specific item from the data object. So bring that in here, spawn actor, and then cast it here to the parent class of the enemy. So this is the part. So we knew the new enemy type was in here, here, here. New base enemy. Blueprint, extremely new skeleton, parent class, VP new base enemy. So this is the parent class, VP new base enemy. All right. So here, cast to VP new base enemy object. Yep. No. No, not yet. Yeah. Okay. as BP new base enemy. So this is passing this instanced object that has been spawned to these things so we can get their location. These should be connected. All right, so, and here's the problem. Pretty sure this doesn't work. Yep, that's the problem. So if I do that, whoops. All right, now does it work? And it should. Actor object reference. Okay. Let's get rid of this altogether. I know this is here. Maybe it's because this is not connected. Fuck. That goes to there. All right. The new base enemy. Target is an actor. So this is an actor, right? This is not a class reference. This is an object reference, which makes sense because this would have spawned with the object. Here is a class reference, purple, where we pick or we extract the class we want to spawn from the data. Here. You spawn an actor. We cast that to a new base enemy. Tries to access an object as a blueprint class, BP new base enemy. It may be an instance of. This will cause the blueprint to always be loaded, which can be expensive. Okay. We can do that. Okay. Can we? Okay. So I just need to reconnect these here. Okay. What about this one? What about that one? Okay. Oh, that's why. Okay. So that's going to break because it doesn't know what this is. All right. So we'll kill that, and that, and then connect that. Oh, thank God. All right, cool. So we reorganize down here. Organization is huge. You stay organized, you will. It saves time. Otherwise, you end up spending a lot of time trying to figure out what you were doing, and anyone else who needs to figure out what you were doing is at a significant disadvantage. So always stay organized. Split this up. Good code teaches the next person how it works. If the next person has to figure out how it works, it's not good code. Which isn't to say it doesn't exist. It does. That happens all the time. But a lot of code, even if there's a good reason for it to be like that, it's not good code. It doesn't change anything. Like having a good reason for breaking the rules doesn't mean you didn't break the rule. Sometimes it's like I had a good reason. You can't avoid it. Like the drive violation I had earlier. I don't like it, but it's what it is sometimes. Okay. So this is fixed. Awesome. The last time I tried that, it didn't work. Obviously, well, it was because of this problem here, because this wasn't connected. And so this that's all I know because of noodles. This wire that was not connected at both ends was confusing Unreal because it didn't know what kind of data was in here. And since all these wires are typed, I couldn't reconnect this here because it didn't know what the input was. And I couldn't connect this here, or here actually, because it didn't know what the output was. So it couldn't infer what type this line was. That's good. Glad I managed to figure that out. Okay, so let's save this. And we compile it. That's really good news. Now we're going to play. Actually, well, yeah, we can hit play. We'll see if it runs. It does not run. Okay. So I'm not going to worry about these for now. I know the dungeon does not explicitly use any of this. I don't know if these errors came from me. They must have, because they weren't here earlier. They must have come from me. I don't explicitly use any of this stuff, though. So what I'm thinking actually is I may get one of the other developers to take a look at this with me and basically give me their second opinion on whether or not it's safe to delete this stuff, because I'm not entirely sure it is. Because, to be completely honest, outside of the folder that contains my dungeon, I'm really unfamiliar with the rest of the project. So I don't know what else needs to be there. Okay. But getting this to compile was a huge win. A huge win. Because when this wasn't connecting before, I really thought I was going to have to recreate all these nodes. Because I've encountered that before, and it may be the same problem, and I just didn't figure out before. But I've encountered it before where I'm like, oh, this is an error. Well, I'll just create a new one, and then I go, oh, cast 2, and I find the thing, and I place it, and I try and connect the lines, and it won't. And I'm like, it's the same thing, but it didn't work. So I had to, well, it would connect, but it wouldn't connect past, like I was trying to do here. And so I had to recreate every single node and re-enter the exact same data and make all the same connections. I was kind of dreading how deep I would have to go with that. So cool. So this is the spawn enemy at waypoint. And this, I am pretty confident, is in fact used by both. Here we go. This is what I'm trying to do. By both the group and the individual. Yeah. So here, enemy individual, enemy group, and they both ultimately. So the group. Oh, I see. So the group spawns either a singular leader or a solitary brute, and then the group spawns both leaders and brutes, but they ultimately use spawn enemy at spawn point. And that is a very strong argument for why you want to avoid dry violations and why you should have functions that only do one thing. Because by having a singular function that simply takes an enemy and a spot and says, create an enemy, create this enemy at this spot, it broke in exactly one place, and I had to fix exactly one place, even though there are basically 4 places where I'm spawning enemies at a spot. So I got rewarded for following good architecture design. So that's cool. I feel good about that. It's nice to see it work. It's one of those things where, like, it works, it's right, but it's all academic until it actually happens. Until you are in a situation where you benefit from it. Okay, so cool. So that is the enemy group, the enemy individual. Okay. And then this is the dungeon enemies, the parent thing there. Okay. And these comments were indispensable in understanding what all this bullshit did, as was keeping everything organized, lines nice and straight. You've got zigzags. They are minimal You don't have, I've seen some blueprints where there's lines just fucking crisscrossing. It's a giant rat's nest. Don't do that, people. Don't write code like that. Um, and I would say it's fine to do that when you're trying to get it to work. Problem is the second thing you're supposed to say after that is as long as you fix it. That is a step that 99% of most developers don't ever do, even in conventional coding. It's like, I'll just hack this to get it to work, to see if it works or whatever. And then once it does, it's kind of like, well, I mean, it works. Do I really want to change it? And the answer is usually no. So don't do that. Even when you start out, stay organized. Start clean, stay clean, end clean. All right, cool. Close minor tab. It's not a minor tab. It's pretty major tab. All right. Cool. So, and this is the event graph for the entire dungeon. Awesome. So if I come back here, it doesn't play. Right. Okay. That's all. There are two things I want to look at. The first is ensuring that the spawned player is mapped to something. Because I'm not sure if that reference would have been maintained or not. So I think it won't. So that would be here, player start, I think. And then there should be actor. Whoops. Actor. Actor good. Selected in persistent level. Convert actor. I don't want to do that. Okay, this suggests to me that that is set up correctly. I don't know for certain what all these things means. I have an idea, but my lack of comfort with Unreal leaves a lot of room for doubt of a lot of things. So this suggests to me that maybe that is picked in the main level where the terrain is, where you'll do most of your adventuring, and then in this level and this player start object uses whatever's set there. So that's good. Okay, we've got the nav mesh, data, partitioning, our balance volume, that's what is manipulated to make sure it encloses the dungeon. And then the engine itself, we've got our light. Okay, so here what I need to do is put enemies in. So I need some grunts, enemies. Let's look for blueprint. Go away. Skeletons, mages, extremely new skeletons, new base enemies, and skeleton mage. These are animation. Okay. So this looks like a guy with a halberd or maybe a poleaxe. This guy's a sword. And he's a base class, so we shouldn't be instantiating him at all. So there are only two enemies here. Kind of sucks. All right. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to select the extremely new skeleton. And I'm going to go, boop. That's really cool. And same with this. So it's a little bit redundant, but it still leaves the base data configured the way I had it. So when we go to when we merge this with the main project, all we need to do is update the enemy references like what I'm doing here, as opposed to building out the new data. Not that this is complicated, but it is one less thing to do. And it serves as an example of how it should look. Okay. So those are the grunts. These are the group sizes for the grunts, group data. Okay. Then we have the leaders. Looks like I only had one leader blueprint. That's fine. We'll do the mage. Awesome. All right, there's the leader, and then again, group size information. Now we have mini bosses. I had one mini boss set up, and we don't have mini bosses here. So I'm going to use the mage again. There we go. Close that. There. And now we've got wall decor control, the blueprints. So these are all correct. So they still have references to the blueprints they're supposed to spawn. Good. Here, here. So, like I said before, not much programming. I literally I did the node equivalent of changing one line, right? I replaced one node with an identical node that referenced a different blueprint and reconnected 5 lines, 5 wires. That's it. But a lot of this, there's a lot of investigation. And now I'm verifying configuration and data settings. And that is the mucky, less glamorous part of game development. Sometimes you have to do this sort of thing. All right, floor decor blueprints. So the rubble. I love the rubble here, the way it works, all the little cubes that were everywhere. I love the way that system works. So that's good. We've got a child rubble small, a medium, and a large. So it's a references the general cube size into the piles. Okay, we got some treasure items, treasure chest, coins, like loose coins. Okay. Floor decor, 1, 2, 3. So we've got floor decor. So we've got a child OBS statue, OBS column. Oh, obstacle, child obstacle. So these are all of a base, a master obstacle class, because the floor decor, you can't walk through it, you have to go around it. And it represents an obstacle, pathing of the NPCs. So that's why that's called that. Okay. Good naming. I'm not saying this is like great, but it's good. And it helped me figure out what was going on. So good naming is another good practice in programming, even if it's only you. Because I mean, I created all this, but without good names, without organized diagrams, I'd I'd never figure it out. I built all this probably 6 months ago. Okay, so here we go. And I haven't really touched it since because there was some problems with like the GitHub repository. We tried to get away from that. We tried to go to something else, and then we're coming back, and now we're making a new project. And it was like just constant delays. So, all right, child obstacle column, and then fire brazier. Okay. And now we're at debugging, on text screen duration. We don't need that. Rendering, this is all default blueprint stuff that I did not add. They just showed up. Okay, so that's good. So it's still not going to run because of those two things here. So I'm going to screenshot this, but I feel like I've accomplished what I meant to do. So I'm going to do this. Only blueprints of unresolved compiler errors. I suppose actually, play an editor. Open all errors. Let's do both. Failed to compile. AC. What is an AC? Is that an animation controller? I think so. There it is. There's one of them. There's some others. Target. Set current NPC name as BP NPC. Here. All right. Click through the NPC conversation. All right. So I'm going to try and be a little bit gentle because I didn't write this code, so I don't want to be more blunt and harsh with my own code. This is well organized. Like it's not. elsewhere, I've seen stuff. It's just lines just crisscrossing over nodes and everything. So it's not like that. That's good. Things are close to the things they're related to. I do believe like the use of white space would be good. Like for example, here, all this stuff is character line rows -1 equal compared to the current line. And then it goes into here. Oh, this isn't connected. I wonder if it's supposed to be like that. But this is all stuff to check for the condition. So I would set that off a little bit so there's some white space so you can kind of see this is a thing. Even better would be to use another comment block, like the one that wraps all of this around just this and be like, this checks if we're on the last line of character dialogue, because that's what it's doing. But I had to figure that out, which means it takes time and processing power to be like, we're checking for the last line of dialogue. And as I continue, I've got to keep in mind, this is for the last line of dialogue. Whereas a comment that says check for the last line of dialogue just processes easier. It's easier. You like a glance at it. You don't have to keep it in your own personal RAM, you know? So there's always room for improvement. My code as well as anybody's. So, but overall, this is not bad. But I would prefer separate comment blocks for different stuff. Like I presume this does one thing, and this probably, like all this, probably does something else. This here is doing something very specific. And then probably this is one thing, and then this is a second thing. Or rather, this is a second thing, and then this is part of that. Or possibly clean up. I see a lot of clears going on here. Anyway, telling me initiate conversation. This is a lot of nodes to initiate a conversation. And I'm not saying it's not necessary. I'm just saying for the description, that's a simple description. This does not look simple, right? So if your description is simple and you got a lot of shit in here, that means there's more to explain in here, you know? So if I was a new developer coming on and they're like, oh, there's a bug in the initiate conversation, or worse, make a change to the initiate conversation system. In order to know where to make that change, I would have to go through this, starting from the beginning, understand every single piece in order to figure out that maybe I need to change this, you know, or whatever. I have to understand it all. Whereas with a comment, I can say, like, for example, I can be like, click through the NPC conversation, initiate. Okay, I know it's going to be in here. See, so I've already eliminated like having to look at all this code over here. So comments are helpful, right? If neither of these comments were here, I'd have to understand all of this. And the same thing applies within. So I'm like, I know it's in here somewhere, no idea where. So I have to go through it all. But if that was commented, that was commented, that was commented, that was commented, you know, then I could further skip having to deal with a lot of stuff and be like, oh, it's probably in here. So comments, it's another thing that most developers hate doing, which I don't know why. And there's no such thing as self-documenting code, so don't ever say that. Okay. So we got errors up here too. What is current NPC? So this is pulling out AC NPC dialog system, which, okay, that's a component that would be on this object. Current NPC, which I'm guessing is a global variable, which is close, but sometimes it's difficult to avoid, especially with a node-based system. But if you can, pass it as an argument. All right, anyway, so this grabs the NPC dialog component from the current NPC. What is the actual error? Read the value, error. Okay. Pin for variable recreated, but the variable is missing. Show me. Oh, you won't. Okay. Okay, so I guess that means this object doesn't have this. So I thought this was getting a component from a blueprint. I guess it's getting a variable. Oh, okay. I'm a, I'm a, I'm a little rusty's not the right word. I'm a lot less familiar with Unreal than Unity. So, okay, I guess it's getting a variable that doesn't exist. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. No, that conversation. Hmm. AC player dialogue system. Well, yeah, I think what we're going to have to do is, so I know I said like never leave your code not working, and I'm going to leave the code not working. Bad developer. Um, so here's the thing. Code that I wrote appears to be working. I just can't test it. And the reason I can't test it is these things that have shown up, which have nothing to do with my code. And they weren't here before I moved my code over here. So I suspect this is an import issue. So I hate to say, here's a rule, always follow it, except in the one particular case I happen to be doing, it's an exception. But I'm going to say it because there's always exceptions. And I'm definitely not going to commit this. What I'm going to do is I took a screenshot of the error that came up, and I'm going to reach out to our lead programmer. Um, I'm technically I'm not a programmer on this project. This is hard to get away from. It's like it sticks to you. Um, and I'm going to ask her. I'm really, hey, are you familiar with these systems? Because she's been around really long, like since the beginning of the project, so she'll know. I expect that she will recognize these systems and be able to tell me if they should exist or should not exist, and whether or not we can delete them. I think we can work together and get that cleaned up. I don't expect that to be a problem. I'm going to leave these open here. Oh, wait. I'm going to make changes. Must have. I'll close that. But the dungeon generation system compiles. So for the intent and purpose of what I said about never have code that doesn't run, if it compiles, then it will run, right? So it may throw errors at runtime. That's fine, because then you can work on tracking it down. But the code that I'm responsible for runs. So um, anyway, rules more like guidelines. You know, you do your best. I had a dry violation earlier. At this point in my expertise with Unreal, um, I don't know of a better way to do it. With it, like I know how to do it without a dry violation, but it won't make the code clearer. It won't make the code better. It will introduce just as many problems as it will solve. So it's a tough choice to make. But when you have a violation of something like dry or solid or encapsulation or whatever you want, and you're going to leave it, it should be a tough choice. Because if it's a tough choice, that means you've seriously considered why you've broken that rule and your alternatives. And you've decided, I don't like it, but this is the best route. Sometimes that happens. Okay. So I think I'm done. I think I'm done for what I wanted to do. So I would say this was good. I'm happy I was able to get this migrated um, and the code compiling, and I even got the data updated with the enemies, the new the two enemies over here. So that's awesome. I won't commit it, as I said already, but yeah, that's it. So all right, I'm gonna wrap this up. Thanks for hanging out. Appreciate it. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. See you guys later.